Napadinid eh. May akong okasyon na. Ay, So, good day everyone. I am Mark Anderson Embalois, and today we will be talking about one of the most biggest issues that we are currently facing in media information literacy. And we call this the infodemic. And now we'll be navigating the infodemic and media information literacy. But before we will start, we must know what is the virus that is currently spreading throughout the globe, especially on social media. Any guesses? Well, if none, we call this disinformation. But what is disinformation? Well, it refers to false or misleading information that is intentionally created and spread through different media platforms to deceive, mislead, manipulate opinions, and is there to cause harm or create confusion towards the people. Well, take a look at an example that we have right here. Well, it's stating that Miraclex Oy will not give a 13 pay or bonus during the Christmas last 2025. What can you see from the picture? Hmm. As what we see in the picture right here, this picture is completely fake. It is not true. It is very, very inhumane to do considering that people or especially workers are waiting for their 13th month pay every December. Now moving on, we are already know what the virus that is currently spreading. We must know how does it spread. Well, if we have the pandemic a few years ago, it was about COVID-19, right? Now we also have currently virus spreading across social media, and we call this the infodemic. Well, for instance, the infodemic is the rapid spread of too much information, including false or misleading content that is there to, of course, harm or manipulate or mislead people, especially during a crisis. It was not just about the pandemic that spread across the globe. It was also there when infodemic spread as well. But for instance, infodemic also spread a few decades back, but because of the COVID-19, the infodemic started to spread millions and millions or hundreds and hundreds of millions of information that are misleading. As an example to that is take a look at right here about an Instagram post stating that a Japanese doctor knows what ways or ways to prevent this COVID-19, which is very technically false or not true. As moving on, we must know what are the two impacts of disinformation. And we have here are the following: polarization and radicalization. Well, what is polarization? Well, it refers to a situation where people's political beliefs move toward opposite ideological extremes, leaving fewer moderate and substandard viewpoints. An example to this is, of course, the issue that is currently going on in our Philippine government, the Dutertes versus the Marcoses. But, however, it wasn't like this a few years back. Well, for instance, 4 years ago, they were on the same team, or what we call they were on the same party list as the president, Mr. Bongbong Marcos, and the vice president, which is Miss Sara Duterte. Well, the current issue going on is they have different conflicts well in regards to the Philippine government, especially considering that Bongbong Marcos wanted the father of Sara Duterte to be imprisoned by the ICC, which is sadly Mr. Rodrigo Duterte. And yes, as I've stated right now, the DDS versus Marcos situation is basically a political split between former allies. As stated here, sadly, I was not able to get the full video of this text. However, this was basically Miss Sara Duterte explaining, uh, let's say, uh, things about our president, Mr. Bongbong Marcos. And also, for instance, right now, Miss Sara Duterte has still ongoing impeachment issues, where it has not been fully resolved yet. Since it was, let's say, I think it was unanimously where the House of Representatives wanted Sara Duterte to be impeached, and that current issue or that current situation is still ongoing on the Senate and will hopefully be resolved in the near future. Well, polarization in media are the same. It divides society into two clear sides, like what I've stated. An example, the Dutertes versus the Marcoses. It has different interpretations of the same events, especially the ongoing issue between the impeachment of Sara Duterte. Because of that, there are two different interpretations of the events that are currently happening. Then, reinforcement of group identity, and lastly, emotional polarization. Now, after polarization, we are now moving on to what we call as radicalization, which clearly states that a very strong separation between people on the extreme right and on the extreme left, and great difficulty in finding compromises. My apologies on the video. We'll take a look at this video that I'm currently showing you right now, which is very depressing and very one of the most depressing thing that has happened in recent history, which was called the Marawi siege that happened back in 2017. This was one of the most depressing, very depressing moments of history in the Philippines, where it really did affected a lot of lives, a lot of families, just because of one unresolved issue between the government and the people. It's very depressing, bro. Well, the Marawi siege that happened in 2017 in the Philippines, where extremist groups aligned with ISIS took over parts of Marawi City. It reflects how political, regional, religious, and regional grievance can lead to radicalization in armed insurgery. Look at this picture right here. Many people were affected, many people were injured, and sadly, many people lost their lives. And of course, many families were affected, many properties were damaged, and many properties were lost. Like these three pictures that I'm showing you right here. It is one of the most depressing things that happened. Number one, the defender of Islam narrative, or what we call false heroism. The Motive brothers utilized social media to frame themselves not as terrorists, but as the true protectors of the Maranao people. This created a siege mentality, where young men felt that joining the Mote group was not an act of terror, but a preemptive act of self-defense for their religion and homes. But by the time they realized the true intent of those people, it was too late. And but however, another example that I can show you, or I have not shown in the presentation, sadly because of some technical issues, would be the NPA recruit or promotion of what I mean of what Sir Peter has shown us a few months back from our first lecture about the NPA advertisement or promotion stating that we are all united in the NPA, right? They want to recruit us young generations in the NPA, so so that we are able to fight against the government. I know that, however, our government right now is full of shit. It's just pretty much bullshit, like what have happened a few weeks or a few days ago about the certain issue about what they call this shooting at the Senate. Yeah, it was pretty recent, I should say that. And then about the ICC warrant about Bato de la Rosa. But we couldn't say that we should fight the government. But as stated there, they want us to be against the government. Good. And they say it's united, but that is not the case. Where the case is many people that have escaped NPA or was NPA before stated that they have experienced abuse, hazing, sexual harassment, and etc. So that is technically not the case for United. Moving on, we are now moving on to the two axes of disinformation, which clearly shows here that the polarization are in the top and the radicalization in the bottom. And on the left side would be the advertising and the propaganda. And there are four sectors in the two axes of disinformation, which clearly states that influence favored by harmful and divisive content, influence favored by human actors and technical tools, compromises with media results in production, and expansion of disinformation, compromise with media results in ideology, reinforcement, and implementing harmful strategies. Platforms economics and amplification. Start things off. Platforms profit from attention. We may not know this, but social media platforms, from what we post, they profit from that, especially advertisements or promotion when it comes to a product. Number two is the sensational and alarming content spreads faster. Many content out there that are very disturbing and inappropriate tends to spread faster throughout the internet, which can cause harm, especially to the young generations that watch or that uses social media in their everyday lives. And I think lastly, the algorithmic reinforcement of ideology, which is something that is actually happening in our daily lives. Where, for instance, let's say we search up something on the social media or in Instagram. We searched let's say for me, Hot Wheels. Let's say search up Hot Wheels, and the next thing you know, after you search it up, after you reset your For You page, that is what's currently popping up. Hot Wheels there, Hot Wheels this, etc. That is what you call the algorithm, which is like, let's say that's where the narrative, the FBI is looking after us, etc. thing, because they know what we have searched, and every social media platform has it. However, that FBI narrative is still unresolved to this day. We just never know. And I think that would be all for my presentation. And now I will be moving on to the floor to Mr. Julio Banghal to present his presentation. Since, of course, it presentation of Kate was surprisingly good, and he has his own presentation. So thank you everyone for listening, and now I'll be moving on to Mr. Julio Banghal. Kanina, kanina. Asan mo to si Julio ba? Kagat lang guys ha. No, kagat lang good guys. Tawagan siya. Julio, where are you bro?
Narco there. I'm over here. All right. Hey everyone. I'm Julio Agustinacito II F. Banghal, or you may just call me Julio for short. And I'll be presenting to you the solutions, tools, and potential of MIL. So then, let's get started. But before that, I'd like to ask you: do you know this person right here? I'll give you about 10 to 20 seconds to see if you do know. Any thoughts? Well, if you do or don't know, this is Coco Martin from the face, but you may be wondering, it does look a bit off. What do you think? Well, if you thought that, then you are correct, because this isn't Coco Martin, and this is the real person behind that face. Now you're wondering, how did he do it? Well, from this post right here, we're able to see the first part. It says Coco Martin lookalike, edited. Now there may be a lot of questions running your mind, but summary of this post is that this is AI deepfake. But you may be wondering, what is a deepfake? Well, a deepfake are AI generated forms of media such as images, videos, and audio. And such usage is to detect a certain person saying or doing something that they never committed. And this is only one of the many problems that ML faces every single day. And as such, we need to learn the solutions, tools, and potential of MIL. Now, first off with the solutions, the first solution may or might not be familiar with you. It is lateral reading. Now, you may be wondering, what is lateral reading? Well, lateral reading is a fact-checking method used to assess the credibility of media sources. But how do they do it? How do you do it? Well, you leave the post and go to other credible sources such as or other credible sources that can confirm or deny the post or image or video that you've seen. But why learn this technique? Well, this technique can help you combat misinformation, reduce vulnerability to misinformation, and validate sources' credibility. Now, I'll give you an example of this. Pretend it's about November 24, you're scrolling on your phone as classes are suspended for today due to the rain. When suddenly, you see a post. The post states classes are still suspended in Cagayan de Oro tomorrow, November 25. Now, on a first glance, you may be thinking, ooh, no more classes tomorrow. But you may be suspicious of it. So you're given two options. You may share it to your friends or other classmates, or you may investigate further. Now, what would you do in this situation? For me, I would share. I'm just kidding. We, of course, investigate. Now, but how do we investigate such situations? Well, first off, we need to locate the information. Our first option, we may go to the official Facebook account of the City Information Office to see if there are any news that are available. Second, we may actually go to the official DepEd website to see if there are any news that were posted about such news. And lastly, we may go to other news channels like GMA and ABS-CBN to see if there are any news that were posted there. Now that we've gathered our information, can we say this post is true? Well, after searching, the image itself is actually true, but the context is false. Why? Well, after further research, uh, this was actually posted during 2023, a few years prior compared to today. And as such, it was actually reposted until it met the algorithm once more, fooling other people. Now we may move on to the second solution, a bit more easier if you say. Visual literacy. Now, what is visual literacy? Well, it is the ability to interpret, analyze, and predict and locate information. But why learn this? Well, in a world of misinformation and disinformation, fake news, and edited but mischievous and deliberately misinformative quotes, where misinformation or disinformation is an act of fabricating content to use against individuals willingly to destroy their reputation, or maybe fake news, where it is shared false information to deceive or misdirect, or fabricated quotes, where it is shared for humorous intention but still can be deceiving. And as such, visual literacy can be a skill that can be learned to combat misinformation that is littered across the internet. Now, for an example, we may bring back the Coco Martin. But to how do you use visual literacy? Well, let me grab out my magnifying glass right here. And first, we may look at the image far standpoint. But if you get closer, look at the face, there's a glitchy texture in his ear. Next, we may look at the straps, and there is also a slight glitchy texture. And lastly, on his hand, the strap seems to disappear. And with these key findings of warped face texture, unrealistic straps, and the straps and hands seemingly fusing together. But can we really say it's fake? Well, to actually determine if it is actually fake, we may go to the tools of MIL. Now, the first tool may be familiar or unfamiliar to you, which is Invid We Verify, a Chrome extension where it is a useful tool for journalists. But for a quick rundown, do you know what a Swiss Army knife is? Well, if you do know, it is practically just that, but for journalists, where it is a toolkit comprised of multiple tools to combat misinformation, like images, videos, and it also has a built-in search engine. But to actually give you more context, and to also not drag the video too long, we will only focus on images. Now here I will show you a video. First, we may go to the official website of InvidWe Verify to be able to download the plugin. Here you may see the link, and here you may scroll down a bit to see get the tool for free. It is a free browser extension. But you may have to download it first. Here I've already downloaded it. After which you may go to another tab, and you may see here a little icon. Here are the extensions, and here is the fake news extension. And here there is a little table, but we will focus on opening the toolbox. And here, this is the official website where you may use these tools to be able to either debunk videos, images, or as I said, a search engine. But we will focus on images. Now, to not drag on too long, we may use the two tools in the image section. First off, we may go to forensic. Here, I'll grab the photo of Coco Martin, able to use it as an example. Now, you may have to wait a bit for loading, but practically here. Now, you may be wondering, what does that mean? What are those images to the right? Well, those images to the right um, are what if are checking if there is any temperament. Where black means there is no temperament, and when there is a glow, like that green glow right there, it means there is temperament in the photo. As such, when you see here, there is a lot of temperament in the photo, and mostly on the face. Now, you may also use these other tools within it, but they don't really gather as much information. Now, you may see here I use other sections. But for our next tool, we may use the magnifier. Now, do you remember visual literacy a few solutions prior? Well, this is practically it, but on a much more easier scale, where you can actually zoom in on the photo to be able to see any things you have missed from using visual literacy normally and such. That is all you need. But this is a little bit more complicated, don't you say? Well, for a much more easier and general tool, we may go to or use Google search or Google reverse image search, or more formally known as Google Lens. Now you may be asking, what is Google Lens? Well, it's practically just a tool that can help find the origin of an image or video by finding similar images through the media. Here's a video on how to use it. Here I went to Google, and here you may see a little icon right here that you may be able to use. Search by image, and here you may drag any image or video that you want to see. Here I'll use another example and not Coco Martin, like a DepEd announcement that may be real or fake. And here you may adjust the crop of the image to be able to specify which one. And here there is a AI overview where it is specifically labeled that this announcement is fake news. But for exact matches, you may go here and scroll down to see where there are other links and other suggestions that this is a fake uh, announcement. But now that we've gathered all our solutions and tools, why did we gather all of them? Well, with the solutions in our brain that has now been learned and the tools at our disposal, we may now move on to the potential of MIL. Now, what is the potential of MIL? Well, as I've stated before, now that we have the solutions to be able to know what is and what isn't a fake news or a fake announcement or a fake post, and the tools at our disposal, we are now able to do two things. The first one is to be able to help others learn what to do. Since since I'm now teaching you this, you may also teach others these solutions and tools so that they'll be more prepared. But it's pretty unrealistic to be able to share and inform or maybe teach everyone, which is which leads to our second solution, or I guess the second potential, where we protect them. Since now we've learned how to use these solutions and tools, our job are now informational guardians, where we are able to stop misinformation from happening. And as such, you're now given the option: be the change and not be changed. But I'll address the elephant in the room. We have the solutions, tools, and potential of MIL. But there's one key factor that is missing: competence, or more formally, discipline. Because without competence or discipline, all the solutions, tools, and potential are thrown out the window. Because how are we able to use these if we don't even know what we are even using or what is the context of it? As such, I want to move on to the next topic, the core or MIL as a core discipline, which will be handled by my friend Eugene. But before that, I'd like to say my goodbyes since it will be my last report. And as such, as the wise words of Jim Carrey, in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
So, hello everyone, and let's proceed to my topic, MIL as a core discipline. Now, why MIL is a core discipline? It is core discipline because it helps students understand, analyze, evaluate, and create social media, a credible and a proper social media post where people will find it not fake and it is truthfully like that. Also, MIL helps us identify the fake news, misinformation, propaganda, and many more. Now let's proceed to MIL as a field by itself, not just a secondary or a transversal subject. Now, MIL has a standalone field because it has its own body of knowledge, which it only focus on media, information, and technology. And it also teaches us specialized skills like how to avoid fake news, something like that. And it addresses modern problems, like what happens now, the modern rapid spread of fake news all across social media platforms. And it also has practical real world applications. And lastly, it promotes responsible digital citizenship. Now let's proceed to epistemological and political importance. Now, what is epistemology or epistemological? Well, it is a branch of philosophy which studies in about knowledge or how it is obtained and what it is and whether to identify something truth or like credible. Now, MIL in political importance. Well, MIL in politics helps us identify if this content or this information is fake or like leads misinformation to citizens who try na vote and propaganda. For now, let's spot fake news. MIL provides essential tools in spotting fake news, such as identifying misinformation, deep fakes, addressing the rapid acceleration of AI and social media influence. First, in spotting fake news, we have source evaluation. Source evaluation is a process of checking content or information or post and linking it back to if it had like a backup link on where it came from, or where is it, or where's the originality, or if it's true. Like some people have confirmed that that information is credible, and if you don't see like a backup link of that post, then it might be a fake news. Next is fact checking. Now, fact checking is the process of verifying information to ensure if it is true and accurate and supported by a reliable source. Third is critical thinking. In critical thinking, it is the ability to identify whether this post is uh, true or like trustworthy. Like for example, if you see a claim like magic mushrooms are good for curing cancer, in our critical thinking we ask, is this true? Then after that we search relatable content, but if if you find no like same studies of this one, or like same link, same information like news, same post, same like some websites, then and there is no real science confirmation behind it, then it is one to spot a fake news. Next is content analysis. And content analysis is a process of examining a content, like interpreting its messages, text, captions, identifying the patterns and meanings and important information. Like for example, a series of social media posts about a new health. There is a post of a social media about a new health cure. Now, if someone posts that makes some extreme promises without scientific backing, or if they all link back to single obscure website, then it must be on fake, because it doesn't have like a backup link or a same information from different website, a different post, so it must be a fake news. So moving on to cross-checking. Cross-checking is information in the process of like comparing two or multiple content to make sure that uh, the information is reliable. Like for example, a news headline is claimed that a celebrity moved into a new city or another country because of a scandal. Now you search it up on websites, on Google, on Facebook, and also on the artist or the celebrity's Instagram. You didn't find some confirmation about the celebrity moving out, or yeah, so it must be fake news because there are no backup links, or like Next is a reverse image search. It is a method of using an image to find its similar or its originality. Like for example, in Google, you screenshotted a place. Oh, I mean, you wanted to know where your friend lives, so you screenshotted one of his posts, then search it up on Google or like in Pinterest, then found out that he lives somewhere in Japan, and yeah, and you found some similar photos of that place also. And for example here, someone posts an image of a huge process on a city, but in your curiosity, you search it up, then find out that that photo is from another country in very very long in the past like few years. So it actually, yeah. So it is a fake information because it misleads it mislead people. Lastly is bias detection. Well, bias detection is the process of identifying opinions, prejudice, and unfair influence.
Today, we are flooded with information from all directions. Knowing how to handle and understand this data is more important than ever. To help us do this, we use the Transliteracy Framework. This framework is built on three main pillars: Infomedia, Infodocs, and Infodata. Let's look at what each of these pillars means and how they connect to the images we see every day. The first pillar is Infomedia. Infomedia deals with the information made for the public and shared on social platforms like TikTok or Facebook. It is all about the news and posts that go viral around us. This pillar focuses on how information works in our daily social and cultural lives. Through Infomedia, we learn three skills: criticism, citizenship, and communication. Here is an example of Infomedia. An image shows a smartphone displaying a Facebook post listing urgently needed relief goods amidst a community gathering. This shows that media is being used for citizenship and communication. The second pillar is Infodocs. This moves us away from the casual social media and looks at the organizational level. It is about how information is organized, checked, and written down formally. The skills we build here are research, publication, and navigation. Infodocs refers to formal records, professional reports, academic writing, and structured news stories. It helps us not just to find information, but also create it professionally. Here's an example of Infodocs. A collage highlighting students engaged in traditional and academic media production. Students researching with notebooks and laptops, and youth conducting students' journalism interviews. These photos show Infodocs in action. They show how they take raw facts and turn them into organized, trustworthy documents. The third pillar is Infodata. Infodata deals with the back-end technology, numbers, files, and computer systems that keep information running. This pillar focuses on the technical and hands-on skills needed to handle raw information. The core skills developed here are problem solving, protection, and creativity. Here's an example of Infodata. A collage showing technical data interactions, where students encode in spreadsheets, processing data, and modern computer laboratory environment. This shows how Infodata works today. It is about using technical tools to solve problems, protect data, and stay safe online. To fight infodemic, we also need visual literacy skills. This means we must access, evaluate, and create content in a critical and ethical way. We cannot just look at an image. We have to understand what it is trying to do. The first skill is decoding reality. We must look at photos and videos closely to see if they are real or changed. We use denotation, context, and iconicity to determine their degree of reality. Second is technical verification. This means using tools like Google Image Search or InVid We Verify to catch fake websites and see if an image was manipulated. Or you could fact check it yourself. Here's an example of a fake website. Why is it fake? First, the link is not official. It says here cute lemonade instead of ABS-CBN. Second is the title. It is more exaggerated, and ABS-CBN news does not cover this type of news. And third is the publisher. It lacks the name of the publisher here. As you can see in the original website, you can see the link has the official ABS-CBN, and the title is more professional, and it has the name of the publisher. The third skill is informed design decisions. This skill helps us figure out why an image was made. And what was it made for? Is it for advertising, propaganda, or aesthetics? Here's a quick way to remember it. Advertising means buy this, like they're trying to persuade you. Propaganda is believe this, like they're spreading information and trying to influence the public opinion. Aesthetic means like feel this, like this image is like depressing, like that. The fourth skill is disinformation defense. Here we must learn to spot fake images and deepfakes so we can stop fake news from spreading. Here is an example of a deepfake. As you can see from the video, someone is using this person's face for a love scam. This is dangerous because the image of the person is now destroyed. So how do we spot fake images? So how do we spot deepfakes? We can look errors in their facial features, lip syncing, and unnatural body language. Or you could choose the easier path, which is using an AI detection tool. True literacy is not just about defending ourselves, it is about taking action. The final skill is counter-narrative creation. The ability to communicate rebuttals through responsible storytelling. This means taking a stand and making our own honest content. By sharing accurate stories, we can challenge and fight back against false information. The goal here is to give the public the real facts. By sharing the truth, we stop disinformation before it can spread to more people. To sum it up, fighting the infodemic takes a complete team effort. We need to understand social media through Infomedia, master formal research through Infodocs, and use technical skills through Infodata. By using transliteracy framework and creating our own truthful stories, we stop being victims of fake news. Instead, we become guardians of the truth. That's all. Thank you.